Jade, the Executioner, the Shining Glory, the Angel of Death. Hey, I'm Hydra. If you're watching this, it means that you want to learn how to play Jade and how to mod your kit. I'll show you 3 builds that you can use at any stage of your game, from a zero forma beginner build to a multiple forma advanced loadout. Before we jump into it, let me explain Jade's abilities. If you already know these, go to this timestamp. Jade's passive has 2 effects. First, she has an additional aura slot. Second, she can cause enemies to gain the Judgment debuff. An enemy with Judgment is 50% more vulnerable to damage. Jade's first, Light's Judgment, lobs a sticky projectile that marks an area. All enemies in the area receive Judgment and all allies will have their health restored. Jade's second, Symphony of Mercy, is a 3-fold ability. You can choose to buff your team's weapon damage, their shield effectiveness, or their ability strength. If you kill an enemy marked by Judgment, this ability's duration will be extended by 2 seconds. I strongly recommend keeping this ability active on you at all times, rotating the effect when you need it. When you cast Jade's third, Warframe Eyes, you'll turn on a flashlight. That's it, that's all it does. Just kidding, this ability will armor strip and shield strip the enemies that you're looking at. It can also revive allies from a distance. When you cast Jade's fourth, Glory on High, you take on the true form of the Angel of Death. This is an exalted weapon which marks enemies with Judgment. The alternate fire will deal massive damage to all enemies affected by Judgment. All of the builds in this guide are made to sustain yourself in this mode for as long as possible. These are Jade's basic abilities, so without further ado, let's get into the builds. This is a zero forma beginner build for Jade. The idea is simple: keep your second and third active at all times and kill enemies from up high with your fourth. This build will keep you alive as long as you're in the air, and if you need to tank even harder, you can buff your own shields. You shouldn't have any issues staying alive in this build. On Glory, the build relies on heat and viral to lower the effective HP of the enemy. The high fire rate means that it is very easy for you to run out of energy, so every once in a while, lower yourself to the ground to pick up the energy orbs. Ogre Pact is your flex slot. If you have an Expel faction damage mod, you can slot it in for the additional damage. A build like this can clear Steel Path nodes, but I would not recommend going in solo. For that, the intermediate build can help you a lot more. In the intermediate build, we need some more shield tanking and some more min-maxing. Equilibrium will help you with the energy recovery, while Aerodynamic and Aviator will help with staying alive as long as you're using Glory. For Arcanes, I use Arcane Aegis and Arcane Avenger, but you're free to swap Avenger for Energize if you have it. For Glory, we start going into Galvanize mods, which will help you reach peak damage. Apart from that, we keep the viral heat build to maximize damage dealt, keeping in mind that compared to the beginner build, we are losing some fire rate, so consider using your alt fire more often. If you have access to Arcane Shards, I can recommend Crimson for either power strength or secondary crit chance. If you want to be really fancy though, you can run Topaz for the additional critical chance on Glory when enemies die while affected by heat. For the advanced build, we use Primed and Umbral mods wherever we can. On top of that, we replace Warframe Eyes with a damage boosting helmet. You can choose Eclipse, Nourish, Roar, depending on your preference. Since I went with Nourish, which gives me viral damage, I changed my Glory's element from Heat Viral to Heat Corrosive. The idea of the build is the same, but the real difference is found in what kind of weapons we pair up with Jade, so let's come up with a real nice loadout. Jade came out with Evensong, Cantare, and Harmony. Cantare is a thrown secondary weapon with a quirk that when you reload or you deplete the magazine, the daggers will come back, hitting enemies on their way back with at least red crits every single time. This can make for some really funny builds where you blast through an entire hallway backwards. Remember to put on Synth Charge, since for whatever reason the recoil daggers will count as a final shot. This effectively multiplies your damage for free. Also, for the synergy with Glory, you can put on Secondary Outburst. When you swap into Glory, you will receive additional crit chance and damage, which is always nice. Harmony is a really funny weapon. Enemies hit by the heavy attack will receive the entire damage that they would receive from damage over time effects. Heat, electricity, toxin, slash, you name it. This weapon allows you to condense all that damage in a single shot. So this build here tries to get the most out of it. You first prime your enemy with some slash or toxin, you lift them up in the air, and then you heavy attack. For this reason, I'm using both Melee Elementalist and Lasting Sting on this build. You don't see Lasting Sting all that often. If you have Tennokai, this is a really good weapon to put it on. I recommend Dreamer's Wrath if you have the format to fit it in. This can give you some absolutely insane damage numbers, and in general this build can work with any Warframe, not just Jade. This concludes this quick Jade build video. Let me know in the comments how these builds are working for you and any changes you would make. If you think these builds are good and you'd like to see more content like this, leave a like and subscribe is the best way to let me know that my efforts are appreciated. A big shout out to my Discord community, which is full of incredibly talented and helpful people that help me a lot with coming up with these builds. You can find me playing Warframe on Twitch at twitch.tv/SemirNHydra. So come on over, have a chat. I've been Hydra, and thank you for watching.